Welcome back to College Football on Tap, brought to you by On Tap Sportsnet. We're your hosts, Chris White and Bruno Oger. Bruno, how you doing, buddy? I know it's been a while.
Yeah, man, it's been a while since we've been able to get on. I think a lot of it is chalked up to there wasn't a lot of college football news for quite a while that, was even worth it. Even National Signing Day, nothing happened
It
on it.
was a very dry while, yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very lacking in the news, and we knew that we wanted to kind of start talking a little bit of basketball. Just need to kind of get a little bit more freshened up and up to date on everything with it. But yeah, man, how are you doing?
I'm good. I've had some pretty tough stretches at work with this cold. Then it got nice again and then cold again. So
Yeah,
I'm all over the place, but
I
happy it's
don't
a
know whether to
weekend
take
and
allergy
ready to
medicine
talk some
or
ball.
what.
I
Yeah,
got an
we
overdose
just
on some Zyrtec.
we just got done with watching the Notre Dame game. Obviously, they were down 29, ended up losing by 3, so that was a really good game. And right now we got number 2 Houston and number 11 Baylor in overtime. Baylor was down like 16 at halftime in this one too, so got some good games already going on today. But it's always an action-packed Saturday in college basketball, kind of like when our college football fades out, college basketball swoops in to kind of take over the Saturdays. And once you get into February, people start to pay attention a little bit more. You start to learn who everyone is, because when it comes to college basketball, every team matters in some form. Anybody could be good any season, and all you got to do is win your conference, and you're going to be having a shot at the dance.
Right. Yeah. March, college basketball's not high on my ranking of favorite sports, but I don't think there's any better playoff type format than March Madness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
There's just so much going on. There's so much to do. My dad goes to Vegas like every other year, I think, for it. And I'm like, man, I'd love to just sit in Vegas and just sit in one of the sports books all day, just watching a million TVs with a million different things going on.
That literally sounds like my dream. Some of the sports books around here, it's not the same. I'm a big Four Winds fan, and they don't even have like an area to kind of like watch sports at. It's just like, at least not that I seen in South Bend. I didn't really look for it when we were in New Buffalo a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, it was just like go to the sports book and place a bet, but you can't really sit there and watch it. You can
watch it play out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a wedding in Michigan City last year, and I don't remember the name of the casino, but they had a pretty nice sports book out there. They had like a wall of TVs, which was pretty cool.
That's sweet. Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. There is one in Indiana that's got a full room, and like you're able to sit there. And I remember walking by it at like 3 a.m, and there was one guy like watching Korean baseball or something. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like,
it's like COVID shutdown times. Like we were up till 4 a.m. watching, what was it, KBO or whatever?
Yeah, because that's what was on, and it was just like, okay, I guess we'll watch the MC Dinos play, because why not?
I think it was Blue Chip in Michigan City.
I've
no, my father. What's up?
I've heard a lot about the Blue Chip and how it's really nice, and like people
it was really
to go there.
That's the place I had mentioned before on the show where I played roulette for like 3 hours on the same $100.
Yeah,
that's where it was. But my father's fault is he always goes during the final 4 games. I'm like, you got to go for the big one. You got to go for the round of 64.
Yeah, I requested a day off work for the first day of the round of 64.
For that Thursday.
Yeah, like I'm gonna.
A guy at work told me to get my vasectomy on the day before, the Wednesday before, because the clinic by him does like some kind of deal. And you take the rest of the weekend off and you just watch basketball. I'm like, man, that's fucking genius marketing.
Yeah, damn, dude, you messed up.
I did.
Should have waited. Could have went a little bit longer without having sex. That's
could have went. Could have. Robert Weaver, yeah, Polecats does have a decent TV spread. I haven't been there since like probably 2018, but I remember it being pretty solid.
I've never actually been. even though it's been down the street from me my whole life, and everybody talks about it. Never been to Polecats.
I think I've been there twice. I'm not a big fan of strip clubs.
Me either.
I don't really understand the point. I mean, I understand the point, but
yeah, I'm right there with you. I know what you're saying. All right, so we'll kind of get into it now. We do want to talk a little bit about what we normally talk about, college football, as there was some news this week with the new college football playoff rules. We got the 5+7 rule into effect. Just to give a brief explanation for those of you who might not be up to date with like what this rule entails. Basically, it's saying that the top 5 schools are going to get in from the top 5 conferences. So if you're ranked the highest and you win your conference, so the SEC is a lock. So whoever wins the SEC championship is going to be one of these teams. Whoever wins the Big Ten is going to be one of these teams. Whoever wins the ACC is going to be one of these teams. Whoever wins the Big 12 is probably going to be one of these teams. And then that 5th one is going to be, it could be any conference. I mean, you're talking, it could be
Oregon
the MAC,
State or Washington State.
I don't. That's the one thing that I wasn't clear on was, does the Big 12 still get that opportunity with just having 2 teams this year, or
Pac-12? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
Pac-12. Sorry. Yeah. So maybe, but like for the most part, I'm going to be kind of looking at the teams that are in the Mountain West, and me being a Maction guy, I'm going to hope that NIU especially, but go Huskies. NIU especially, like if they're undefeated, or obviously I don't want them to be undefeated as they play Notre Dame in week 2, but as long as they go 11-1, they could be a high-ranked team and they win the MAC. There's a chance that they could be the team that's in, and that's might be what it takes, is being an 11-1 conference winner out of the one of these conferences that you normally don't see in this conversation. That now with the new college football playoff, you will. So top 5 conference champions are in, and then it's going to be the next 7 highest ranked teams after that.
So for you Notre Dame homers at home like us, if they are number 1 in the nation going into the playoff, they are actually number 6, and they will not get a bye. They'll have to play all 4 games. So
yeah,
new NBC deal, big conference push coming up. I mean, it's got to be a big push. Whether they'll do it or not, I think depends on the NBC money.
Yeah, one thing that I from what I read, and I could be wrong, is that Notre Dame would still, if they were the number 1 team, they would get the 5 spot, so they would get to play the 12 seed, and they would get the home game.
They would get the 5 spot,
and they would give the 6th spot to the next conference champion. But
that was mainly just for the fact of an undefeated season.
Yeah,
number 1 overall. I couldn't remember if it was 5 or 6, but they lose their bye week. Was the
and the way that Notre Dame has been kind of trying to sell it in terms of like fans that are kind of like, well, no, we have to get into a conference, is, well, we don't play a conference championship game anyway, so we're already getting a bye week that these other top tier schools wouldn't be having, like, are not getting already. So the only problem that I see with that kind of argument that Notre Dame's going with here is Georgia and Alabama are playing each other in the SEC championship game. The loser of that game is one of those final 7 teams. So they might not get
no doubt.
But they're still going to be in the same position that you are, possibly not getting a home game. That's going to be the only difference, is they might possibly be the 9 or the 10 having to play like a Penn State, who's not going to be in the Big Ten title game, but might be 2-loss team that was ranked number 9 at the end of the season. And then because of those conference championships, they move up or something. Like, that's what might end up happening, is you might have to play an away game, but they're still going to be in. And that's going to be for the SEC and for the Big Ten. The ACC and Big 12, I'm not going to give that kind of push for anymore, just because outside of like Clemson and Florida State in the ACC next year, and
Big 12's
got nothing. It's just
they lost their only 2 like major prospects. So
yeah, I mean, they'll have good teams. Like, don't get us wrong there. Like, the Big 12 will still be a good conference to watch next season in general, but I mean, it's not going to be.
Just don't bet on it.
Yeah, yeah, don't bet on it. Looks like Houston is up 3 now with about 30 seconds left here. So they're at the free throw line. Could be a big win for them being on the road at Baylor as we go through that. But yeah, that's the one thing with this 5+7 that it's really bothering me, I guess, is just Notre Dame tries to make this argument that, they're going to get this bye week in anyway, so it's fine that we have to play this game. But most of the time, they have the hardest ranked schedule. I'm not saying they do next year. I think next year they should get in this tournament, and it's with an easy schedule. But most of the time, they have the hardest ranked schedule, and they are going to have to sit there and deal with that every single year and then be like, oh, well, here's just we're the 5 seed no matter what. Like, I don't like it. I mean, I guess it doesn't.
Do rule changes? Does the rule change at all with the one non-Power 5 team allowed in?
Yeah, so basically this is their way around it, is that the non-Power 5 team is going to be that 5th conference champion.
That's their 5 spot. Okay.
Yeah, because it's not going to – there's not really a Power 5 anymore. That's why it's kind of like NIU wins the MAC and they're ranked 20th. That might be good enough to get into the tournament.
Okay.
And could you imagine NIU, because of – like, I don't know if they're ranked number 20th, if they still would be the 6th seed or whatever it is in terms of wherever Notre Dame is. That's something that's a little unclear to me as well. But could you imagine, like, NIU hosting a college football playoff game in DeKalb?
That's tiny. How big's the stadium?
I mean,
slightly larger than a high school stadium.
Yeah, it's got a good for
Richards 2.0.
The student section is not very large. I mean, the students don't fill it most of the time anyway. I mean, almost all the time except for homecoming possibly. But you go to the other side, like where the alums and whatnot sit, like the normal fans, like that side used to get packed on game day. And
I don't understand college kids. If I went to college, I would spend every single Saturday in those bleachers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, tickets can't be expensive either, right?
It's free for students.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy how you don't even go for at least a quarter or a half.
That's like when I went to NIU, we literally pretty much left at halftime of every game, except for like when Kansas came to town, because every single team that came into NIU when I was there, we were beating 21-0, 28-7 at halftime.
No,
and it was
there's no game.
Well, let's go drink some more beer. We'll watch the game at home and drink some more beer. But yeah, we were there 4 hours before game time tailgating. As soon as tailgate lots opened up, we tailgated in the student tailgate lot. I mean, our student, like when I was there, we had a lot more of a better fan base than what it is now. It seems like it deteriorates more and more, but it's also because they aren't going 12-0 every season, 11-1 every season like they were when I was a student there, which that's just a fickle fan base, that's just how it is sometimes with students. And if you're not Power 5 and you're not one of those big time schools, I guess they don't treat it the same. But it's,
did you see, I don't know if I saw it on TikTok or an Instagram reel or something, but I think it was the week Notre Dame played USC. Matt Leinart was going around USC and asking students if they knew who he was, and like none of them knew him. I'm like,
yeah. Okay,
like
yeah.
The lack of awareness of like this is a USC legend right here.
Yeah, I did see that.
It's like, how are you so uninterested in your own school's like activities? Like even in high school, when I didn't play football, I went to the games.
Well, see, like some of them aren't real football players. I don't know if you saw that college cheating scandal. I just watched a documentary on that the other day, and
was it BS High or something like that?
Yeah,
like 23-year-old.
They just called it like the college scandal or whatever on Netflix, I thought, but or I forget what it was, but yeah, they basically just kind of laid out how it all went down and how they.
It was like the 20-somethings playing high school football, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about like the thing where Lori Loughlin got indicted. Like her kid because they paid like some guy to make sure that they got into the schools like USC and UCLA and stuff. But the way that they were doing it was by giving them like scholarships for like off-brand sports. So they would give a scholarship for something like the rowing team, and like the rowing coach would just like stash them as part of the team, take some pay for the prop, take some pay for it, but the student literally didn't row boats. Like they weren't a rower. Like and that's like kind of like how they kept on like excusing it but making sure that these people got in. And it would just it's not like they would do the major sports like that everyone pays attention to, but like random little
captain of the badminton team.
Yeah, stuff that you could kind of be like, oh yeah, no, because no
local papers are going to look into this.
But yeah, that's that was the basis of what I meant by the college scandal thing. Yeah, so
did you? I'm not sure. Are you a big video game guy? Because apparently NCAA finally got confirmed.
Yeah, so I've been waiting forever for this, honestly. I don't know. I think this is pretty much anyone who was born when I was born. If you were in that generation of 87 to like 93 and you love video games, you loved like NCAA football video games. Like the last one that they made, I think, was 2013, and
it's 14,
really,
I think.
Was it? Okay, yeah. I literally played that game every day. I would get through whole seasons in a day, and I would do like 30-year dynasty modes where I would make NIU the greatest school in the world, and the Big Ten would be asking me to join them every year, and I'd be like, sure, I'll go play against Ohio State and bring Ohio State into the DeKalb and then whip their ass in the DeKalb.
Beat the piss on them.
Start getting all these like 5-star recruits to come to DeKalb because we just won all the time.
Yeah, I was talking to Zach about it, and you got to have like your team, like me and you, Notre Dame. He would be Michigan State, but then you need like a garbage team to bring up from hell. Like you have to rewrite Eastern Carolina,
dude. Seriously,
fucking Old Dominion.
It literally makes it so fun to do stuff like that. And like if they have like the coaching modes where you literally start off as the low head coach, and that's like, oh well, then we're gonna hire you to be the head coach of Kentucky, and then you make Kentucky good, and then you get to go to freaking Texas, and it's like, yeah, this is great. It's like I don't know why it was always so entertaining. So I'm kind of that's what I'm looking forward to most. But I do think that we should definitely get a group together that we all pick a team, we all draw a team out of a hat, like from, the MAC, take a MAC school, and we play each other in a tournament as all the 12 MAC teams, and we just play each other whenever we have the opportunity, like 1 p.m. in the afternoon games and stuff. Like you got to play Saturday at 1 p.m.
Right. I think Kemp and Zaper did that with Madden.
Yeah.
Where they joined the same, like they both looked like an AFC West team. I think Kemp was obviously the Chiefs, and then Zaper took whoever, and they'd play each other the 2 times a year, and they'd sim the rest of the season.
The only thing that they didn't do is like have everybody else involved with it. So it's like we could have it set up where you're at home and I'm going to be at home, and we both know we're going to be at home. So we could play our week 6 game against each other. And then like if you and Fat Zach are home at the same time, you guys could play your whatever game against each other, and everyone plays their 12-game season or whatever it is. It'd probably be like an 8-game season based off of how conferences work and whatnot, however we could rig it. And you do it like that. That would just literally make it so much fun. And at the end of the year, you got a conference championship game between the 2 sides that won the most games, and they got to play each other twice. I can't wait for this video game. I honestly can't.
I'm trash at video games, but I've been playing a lot of Madden just because I've been getting excited.
See, the one thing I hope is that this game is nothing like Madden, because it wasn't very Madden-esque back in the day. It did have its kind of own identity, and that's what I really want for it. Because the one thing I don't like about Madden in today's age is just the quarterback play. The quarterback just gets out of the pocket way too damn slow. Like it's literally like the guy needs, like, I don't get it. It's like he's freaking an 80-year-old man trying to move out of the pocket. And once he gets going, he moves. But if you don't get going within a second, you're sacked. And it's just like you can't even jump up in coverage. Sloan is going hardcore on the crying right now. So
yeah, this ain't great. She you can't step up in the pocket. If they're anywhere near you, it's game over.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I want to make sure that I hope that they take out of this EA Sports game, and just to make it worth everything that I want it to be. I mean, I just want it to be 2014, 2012, all those video games nostalgia. And I hope that's what it is. It probably won't be, and I'm probably going to be fairly disappointed. But as long as the quarterback play is decent and the quarterbacks are actually mobile, then I'm all in.
I've got to go change a diaper.
All right.
Take over for 5 minutes.
I'll start up with kind of dragging us into college basketball here for a minute, as we kind of start to talk about college basketball season as it gets closer to March Madness. It takes a while in college basketball to kind of figure out who's good, who's not. I mean, you got the perennial blue bloods that are always there. You got Kentucky, you got Duke, you got North Carolina, Kansas. They're always up there. All four of those teams are ranked right now. All four of those teams are locks to make the tournament. Kind of the way that it'll break down right now is I was looking at a lot of different things. There's, in terms of who would be locks to get in, there's probably about 25 teams right now that are locks, and then another 30 teams that should be in. And then we got all these bubble teams that are going to kind of go down from there. So we'll kind of get together, me and Chris, and go down the list and break down what teams are going to be in, what teams should be in, and who's kind of been the who. This season it's been really Big 12 based, as we just finished this Houston and Baylor game where Houston ended up winning on the road at Baylor and Waco. That's huge. That's a huge win. Baylor, I think that was their 8th loss of the season. And they still ranked them 11th coming into this game. So it's kind of crazy to see a team that has that many losses, and that's how high they're ranked. But that's just kind of showing the strength of where the Big 12 is this season. So the way that I have kind of broke it down and looked into it thus far is that we're seeing about 9 teams possibly making it into the tournament out of the Big 12, and then 6 teams that are for sure locks, 9 that should probably be in at this time, and then 1 team that's right there working on the bubble. In terms of Cincinnati, I think this might be their first year in the Big 12. They normally are a team that you see in the tournament every year, but moving to a new conference is stacked with competition. These teams that still have a little bit more work to do, where if they ended up going on like a bad losing streak, it could be costly. But as long as they stay afloat over these next couple of weeks before their conference tournament, which conference tournaments are 2 weeks away, Oklahoma, TCU, Texas, all should be teams that are still in this tournament. Unless they go on a bad losing streak and lose their next 3 or 4 games, then they could be in a lot of trouble. Cincinnati is going to have to go 4-0, and they could have 10 teams in, that's absolutely insane. And when you look at every other conference, nobody else has that kind of dominance in college basketball this season. Even the Big Ten, like, you got 3 teams that are really, really good, and then everybody else is kind of either down and out, where they're a 13-13, 14-12, 12-14 team that aren't going to get into this tournament. With that, they're going to have to win that conference tournament. And then you got a couple of teams that should be in, but it's hard to kind of judge and rank some of these teams because they haven't had their best games yet. Michigan State, for instance, like, they are a team that started off this season very, very slow, lost to a team. I can't remember who it was. I think it was their first game of the year. If that Zach is watching, I know he would know, because I was laughing at him when they lost. But Michigan State was a team that got off to a slow start, lost quite a few games. And once they got into conference tournament, it was just, they're a completely different team. And when they get these big time matchups, they ended up getting big wins. And it's just kind of the way that college basketball works in general. So Michigan State, team that should be in the tournament right now, when literally 3 weeks ago, you would have been like, man, Michigan State's not very good, not going to get in. But it just kind of seems to be that Tom Izzo effect where he constantly finds a way to get these teams to play for him. This team's got a lot of veteran leadership, but it's also got a lot of young freshmen on it as well that are kind of bringing up the rear. And there was a lot of parallels earlier on in the season between, well, is the guy who's been a 4-year starter for this team really going to really still better than this true freshman that we brought in that's a 4-star recruit? And Izzo ended up, because of the way that some of these seniors started off playing, switched them out, and ended up getting them going and getting the true freshman going. And it kind of sparked something in his players, his veteran players, and now everybody's working together and getting that team into a position where they should be in the tournament. But outside of them in Northwestern, Nebraska, every other team, I mean, they might have only 6 teams in this year, and then they got to have everybody else that tries to win that conference tournament. Being Notre Dame guy, I would sit here and have to cheer for Notre Dame to win the conference tournament this year. They've been playing good basketball of late. There's a Chris White sighting. They've been playing good basketball of late, but not a team that's anywhere near tournament aspirations. Kind of need Chris to get back in here to kind of continue on, or we're going to have covered everything, really talk by just rambling. So, but yeah, in-state school, Northwestern, looking really good right now. But the Bobuie taking over the team. I mean, you don't even hear too much about any of the other players whenever there's any type of news on them. I'll watch WGN News in the morning and see he's the only player that they seem to talk about, seem to kind of go over the top. Chris, welcome back.
Hey, she's losing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a little tongue-tied here.
It was James Madison you were thinking of.
James Madison for what?
It was Tom Izzo's nephew that beat Michigan State.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. And
I kept you in my ear.
Okay, great, awesome. Yes, that's it. James Madison actually was ranked for quite a while, and they're a team that should actually be in the tournament. So not that low level of a school, but at the time, they weren't really ranked that highly. But James Madison, being the team that they've been in college football this year, is also the team that they are in college basketball this year. They're another team that should be a team that makes the tournament, despite what happens in their conference playoffs, as long as they don't have a really bad loss early on in that tournament, just because they are in a lower ranked conference and they normally don't give too many lower level conference teams into a tournament this year. I think honestly the way that they're looking at it is you got Florida Atlantic, who was a Final Four team last year, as a team that should be in from the American Conference. And then the Mountain West will have San Diego State and Utah State, and then Colorado State and New Mexico might get in. They should be in. Boise State and Nevada got a little bit of work to do. But then outside of that conference, Dayton is a school. St. Mary's is a school. Gonzaga is a school. Grand Canyon is a school. James Madison, Princeton, Indiana State, Drake, all are schools that are kind of outside of that normal perennial top of the line schools that might possibly still get into this tournament that aren't in the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10, etc.
Yeah, I've been going through this bubble watch over here and just kind of checking out what's going on with what. There's a lot of teams that, granted, I watch like 3 games a year until March Madness rolls around. There's a lot of teams on here that are locks or just about, that have me kind of scratching my head like, I could be wrong, but like BYU, I don't remember them in recent years being anywhere near.
BYU
Besides
is
for like
normally pretty
15,
decent.
16, 14, but not like locks.
BYU is normally pretty decent. They always have a lot of sharpshooters, but I think that's every year now in college basketball in general. You're going to find quite a few schools that really don't normally appear, and that's what we're
Like
seeing with
Pitt,
James Madison.
Oklahoma. It's just like I'm used to Houston and Texas Tech and Iowa State, but I'm just seeing a bunch of these jump out at me.
Yeah, I mean that was something like when you were away. I was kind of saying like the Big Ten normally got a lot more teams that are kind of considered locks at this point, but this year, I mean, they literally have 6 teams that are probably gonna get in, depending how these last couple of weeks shape out. But they might not even get 6, which is kind of crazy to think about. And anything could happen in these conference tournaments. You could find a team like Maryland, who's normally a very good college basketball school, get hot and win it as an 8 seed. I mean, this stuff happens all the time. That's why they play these conference tournaments in general, is to give those type of schools like an opportunity. I sit here and every year I put on my hat for NIU and be like, hey man, they won 7 games all season, but they can win the conference tournament, still get into the NCAA tournament.
This is the year.
It's just, that's kind of, I guess, the fun of this time of year in general, is just you get that opportunity to root for teams, even if they haven't had a good season, they still have that little bit of an opportunity to get in. But yeah, that's kind of where you're looking at it in general. Like the Big 12 just going to have a stacked roster in the tournament, which normally when you look at a lot of when the Big 12 gets in 10, 11, 9 teams, normally they struggle when it comes to the games that they have to play in the NCAA tournament. So you could see like 6 of those teams go down in the first round, and you're just like, well, what the hell? It's because they were beating the hell out of each other all year with teams that they had to play for most of the season, and they're not ready to play some small sharpshooting team like James Madison.
Loyola Chicago, baby.
Loyola Chicago is a team that possibly can win their conference tournament this year. They've been very good. I think they're 3rd place right now in Missouri Valley. At least that was the last I seen, but they are that opportunity, and we have seen them before go quite a long way in the NCAA tournament. What was that, 5-6 years ago now?
19, I think.
Yeah, it's been a
while. They weren't a 16, were they?
No, they were ranked. I believe they were an 8.
Oh, were they? I thought they were double digits. I just didn't think they were all the way up there.
No, I believe they were an 8. I thought. I could be wrong, because I know they were in the tournament the following year when they beat U of I. So, yeah, good question. I can't remember. I can't recall. I remember watching them win their first game in the most Chicago way possible, though. I was at Union Station, at the bar at Union Station, waiting for the train to come in with a bunch of other people waiting for a train to come in, and everybody just went nuts inside Union Station watching on these 3 little TVs they had.
Was that the same year that Tyler Eifert's brother, the kid from Purdue, went off? I don't remember who they were playing, but he sunk like 9 threes in a row against the number 1 or 2 seed.
I honestly,
you ain't got any recollection of that?
Yeah, no.
I think it was the same year, because I remember I watched all day. It was a Saturday, I think, and I watched all day. And I was like, nah, this game's kind of boring. And I was going to turn it off. And then Purdue started coming back. And I was like, all right, hold on a second.
Yeah, I can't recall. I mean, my memories in terms of college basketball are U of I in 2005. And then Notre Dame's back-to-back Elite 8 squads back in 15 and 16. And then, I remember a Duke national championship. I put a Duke hoodie on because of talking college basketball. So I remember a Duke national championship or 3.
I had a Bulls hoodie on before I came on, but it was too hot in my house.
Speaking of, I got to kind of look and see if my see if my bet is still going at this time. Chattanooga was struggling, so I was getting a little worried there. Oh no, Chattanooga is
My
gonna blow my
Villanova
bet.
boys playing today.
What?
My Villanova boys playing today.
Villanova does play today. They actually have a very tough game today, as they have to play number 1 UConn.
Ooh, that's not great
But
for my Villanova boys.
yeah, well, I believe that's at UConn. Earlier this week, UConn actually went down to number 15, Creighton. Creighton's a great school. I mean, they're going to be in the tournament. I mean, they're always a perennial in the tournament, but Creighton took UConn down in a big way by over 20 points. So there's so many good teams, man.
I think unless I'm thinking of another big upset, I think I might have saw something like that on Twitter about that. Something else that was kind of cool. I saw it. I didn't watch it, but I saw it online. Caitlin Clark broke the NCAA record.
Yeah,
the girl from Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably the most popular thing in all of college basketball and all of college sports right now. I mean, she gets more coverage than men's college basketball does in general. She is a number 1 most talked about thing on SportsCenter. It's the first person that they'll go to. When she broke the scoring record, I mean, it was everywhere. Like the night that it happened, my Twitter was just every little thing that you see was her, and she's literally just like elevated the game in general. Like women's sports, women's college sports especially, like has really taken a big jump. I mean, people watch women's college basketball like crazy. The betting on the women's college basketball is starting to come in. Honestly, it's bigger than any professional women's sport, I believe, at this point, is women's college basketball. And Caitlin Clark is a big reason for that. Just kind of elevated it. But basketball in general has just been elevated, I think, over the recent years.
Yeah. I've taken more of a liking enough to pay attention to it, not necessarily sit down and watch it, but I cannot watch the NBA. It's so bad.
No, I mean, I like the Bulls, but I don't make it as appointment television for myself. I'm more of I'd rather watch a lot more left turns than that, because I love left turns, baby.
You know what I don't mind is college softball.
Oh yeah,
some of the plays they make and stuff. That it's always an entertaining game to watch. Bailey always sends me TikToks and shit of some random school you've never heard of make a sick play.
Yeah, I enjoy watching pretty much anything that involves baseball or softball. So, I mean, I sat here all day and watched the whole entire Cubs game yesterday, and it's just spring training, and it doesn't. I guess it's a little bit easier as a Cubs fan when all this talent is in their minor league system. So when they bring out guys to come bat in the 6th and 7th inning and replace guys that were in the game earlier, it's like, well, there's still guys that matter here, because here comes Canario, and it's kind of Owen Casey, and seeing all these other guys. So I've been really enjoying. I could really just enjoy all of spring training for once, just being able to watch all these guys, which is great.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I'm having a real tough time trying to hear
Nicky Lopez,
Chicago's own Naperville. It's just Nicky Lopez.
But yeah, kind of going back into what we got in terms of college basketball over the next couple of weeks, and we'll try and get a little bit more fresher with every team, as we kind of just both have been. I've been able to watch a little bit more of late, but I honestly, like, I don't get to watch college basketball during the week, which really I just put in some degenerate $10 5-leg parlay and hope that it hits, and I pay attention through college basketball during the week through that. And then on Saturdays I try and sit down and watch a few hours of it, as I did all morning today, and probably will get some in this afternoon as I throw in another degenerate parlay. But we'll it's really hard to follow along with as many teams as there is in college basketball, because unlike college football, where there's 134, which is a huge number, there's 256 in college basketball. So it's quite a bit more that we have to kind of follow along with, and you can't really follow all the lower tier schools. And now with these conferences, both all having 15 to 16 teams in them, it's very hard to keep track of every single one of these teams. It's absolutely insane. So as of right now, we kind of talked about all these teams that were locks. We got 25 of them right now. We got all the conference champions that are going to get in, and then we got 33 teams that are working their way off the bubble. So we'll kind of see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks. We're going to kind of try and wrap this up here really quick. Just, we're having a hard time with the child here, not really appreciating our show today. So kind of a struggle through with that. So we're going to end up wrapping this up here pretty quickly, and we'll try and get some more coverage coming in the coming weeks of this. And hopefully what we could do is we could break down a little bit of a March Madness pool for everyone to join, trying to see what On Tap would like us to do with that, and we'll kind of follow along from there. So we'll keep that in announcements. Follow us on Twitter, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, hopefully should be some big things coming up with March Madness pools. We'll just have to put word out. You'll get information through Twitter. We'll definitely get on here again before the tournament starts. What is it, the second or third week of March?
Yeah, it's March 21st is the first day of the tournament. So
yeah, we've got a few weeks still. We'll get back on here and we'll zero out details and whatnot and kind of break everything down so he wants to play along.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So with that, thanks for watching. Next time, get involved in the chat. Thanks, Rob, for your comments today, and we'll get on out of here. And everyone enjoy their weekend. Watch some college basketball. Watch some NASCAR. Whatever you like. So this was College Football on Tap, talking a little basketball ish. Bye.
Have a great weekend.